What's up, guys? So today's video is going to be another part of the intro pack. This one's more or less going to be similar to the story of the Great Race back when I did my Chinese zodiac portion of this series, I guess. And this one's going to be sort of looking at how the star signs were sort of selected, I guess, as well as some sort of facts about just astrology as a whole. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so before we can actually start nailing down what an individual star sign's personality traits are, there are two sort of overruling things you have to take into consideration. And that is the signs' elemental association, which goes in the order of fire, earth, air, and water, starting with the first sign of the zodiac. And then corresponding to them are the three modalities of cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Again, starting with the modality of the first star sign. So the fire signs are passionate, dynamic, and temperamental. They can get angry quickly, but they also forgive very easily. They are adventurers, they are physically very strong, and therefore a source of inspiration for other people. They are intelligent and self-aware, they are creative and idealistic people, and they are always ready for action. The earth signs are sort of grounded and down to earth. They're very conservative and realistic, but they can also be very emotional. They are connected to the material reality, and they can be turned to material goods and sort of sort of very materialistic, I guess, in a way, both in a good and a bad way. Sort of really depends on the person. They are very practical, loyal, and stable, and they will stick by people through tough times. The air signs are rational, social, and love communication and relationships with other people. And I feel like the word relationships needs to have a clarification here, that it's not just meaning romantic relationships. They could also be familial, friendship, getting along with co-workers, that sort of thing. So it's not just romantic relationships, it's relationships of any form. They are thinkers, friendly, intellectual, communicative, and analytical. I mess up on the word communicative, and I myself am an air sign. They love philosophical discussions, hence this series, social gatherings, and good books. They enjoy giving advice, but they can also be very superficial. And then the last element being water. They are exceptionally emotional and can be sensitive. They are highly intuitive and can be very mysterious. They love profound conversations and intimacy, so you'll get no small talk out of them. They rarely do anything openly. And I sort of read that as not like they're very underhanded and try to hide everything from you, but they're not the sort of person to make a direct like if there's an issue, they're not the sort of person to just lose their head and go in for a direct attack. They're going to try and find a way around the problem to resolve the issue altogether. and they're always there to support their loved ones. Now, the three modalities were cardinal, and cardinal signs kick off new seasons. So they're at the beginning of summer, autumn, winter, and spring. And so, from memory, in the northern hemisphere at least, the element assigned to the cardinal sign also lets you know what season it is, I believe, because the zodiac starts with Aries, which has its first date in March, which I'm pretty sure. No, yes, I don't know. But they do start off new seasons. They are excellent at taking action and starting initiatives. I myself am a cardinal sign, so starting new things and putting things into action. Yeah, things that I'm very good at doing. It's endings that I don't like. The fixed signs occur in the middle of seasons, so their months will be the only months within the entire zodiac that only have one season running throughout. Cardinal signs will start in sorry, no, that's incorrect. Cardinal signs will start in a particular season and continue through that first month of the season. Fixed signs then follow, taking up the next month of the season, and the mutable signs end the season, and the actual change of seasons happens in mutable signs. So fixed signs are steady, consistent forces that maintain their movement. And like I said, each season concludes and therefore begins inside a mutable sign, and they are very well suited to change and transformation. So they're very adaptable people. And so when you sort of overlap the 4 elements with the 3 modalities, you get your 12 star signs. I do have a list of just very basic overview of particular personality traits for the different signs. I'm going to run through it very quickly for you guys. I will leave all my sources in the description because at the end of all of this there's about 2 sentences that I'm not going to read on each of them. That basically just says that if you click on the link you can read the full personality traits of your particular sign. So if that's something you are interested in, those links are in the description. So we will start off with Aries. And I mean, I'll just get into it. Aries loves to be number 1, so it's no surprise that these audacious rams are the first sign of the zodiac, and that's why we're starting with them. Bold and ambitious, Aries dives headfirst into even the most challenging situations. Taurus is an earth sign, represented by the bull. Like their spirit animal, Taurians enjoy relaxing in serene, bucolic environments, surrounded by soft sounds, soothing aromas, and succulent flavours. Very driven by their senses. Have you ever been so busy that you wished you could clone yourself just to get everything done? That's the Gemini experience in a nutshell. Appropriately symbolised by the celestial twins, this air sign is interested in so many pursuits it had to double itself. Cancer is the cardinal water sign, represented by the crab. The crustacean can seamlessly move between the sea and the shore, representing Cancer's ability to exist in both the emotional and the material realms. They are highly intuitive, and their psychic abilities manifest in tangible spaces. For instance, they can effortlessly pick up the energies of a room So they're the sorts of people that are able to tell if a particular room has an overly negative emotion existing inside it, or an overly positive one. Roll out the red carpet because Leo has arrived, represented by the lion. These spirited fire signs are the kings and queens of the celestial jungle. They're delighted to embrace their royal status. They are vivacious, theatrical, and passionate, and love to bask in the spotlight and celebrate themselves, which honestly just sounds like the personality type of a peacock, and we will be making a video explaining that that reference later on. Virgo is an earth sign historically represented by the goddess of wheat and agriculture. I'm going to get into that in a second as well. An association that speaks to Virgo's deep-rooted presence in the material world. Virgos are logical, practical, and systematic in their approach to life. This earth sign is a perfectionist at heart and isn't afraid to improve their skills through diligent and consistent practice. Libra, me, is an air sign represented by the scales, which is the only inanimate object of the zodiac. And that is an association that reflects Libra's fixation on balance and harmony. Libra is obsessed with symmetry and strives to create equilibrium in all areas of life. Scorpio is one of the most misunderstood signs of the zodiac. Because of its incredible passion and power, Scorpio is often mistaken for a fire sign, but it is in fact a water sign that derives its strength from the psychic emotional realm. Sagittarius, represented by the archer, they're always on a quest for knowledge. The last fire sign of the zodiac, Sagittarius launches into its many pursuits like blazing arrows, chasing after geographical, intellectual, and spiritual adventures. Capricorn is the last earth sign, and it's represented by the sea goat, which is a mythological creature consisting of the body of a goat and the tail of a fish. And accordingly, Capricorns are skilled at navigating both the material and emotional realms, as well as Cancer. Despite having aqua in its name, Aquarius is actually the last air sign of the zodiac, but it is represented by the water bearer, or the cup bearer, who is a mystical healer who bestows water or life upon the land, and accordingly they are the most humanitarian astrological sign. And finally, Pisces, which is a water sign and is the last constellation altogether of the zodiac. It's symbolized by two fish swimming in opposite directions, representing the constant division of Pisces' attention between fantasy and reality. As the final sign, Pisces has absorbed every lesson, the joys and the pains, the hopes and the fears learned by all the other signs. And so, like I said, I will leave links in the description down below. Now, on the bit about Virgo being represented by the goddess of wheat and agriculture, there is actually a debate about that. All the signs are based on Greek mythological monsters or characters, so I'll quickly brush through those as well. So Aries is Chrysomelos, which is the flying ram of the Golden Fleece that Jason and the Argonauts set sail to find. That particular ram is actually guarded by a dragon that I believe it never sleeps. It's not named, but I believe it's a dragon that never sleeps. And so they're sent after the ram. Taurus is the Cretan bull, the father of the Minotaur. And I believe in mythology he was originally a man, got transformed into a bull by, I believe it was either Poseidon or Zeus. I know that the bull is the animal, one of the animal signs of Zeus, so it could have been Zeus. He was transformed into a bull, then Minos's wife was possessed by Poseidon to mate with it, and that gave birth to the Minotaur. the interesting thing that I'm trying to get to here is that when he was a man, his name was Asterius. I believe that's correct. And on ancient Cretan coins, I've actually found on one side of them sort of a maze design with a little star in the center, which is where we've actually gotten the word for asterisk, which is the little stars you put next to words to denote that you put a footnote regarding relating to that. That's where we get the name. It actually comes from the name of the Cretan bull, who is the star sign Taurus, and also from the Minotaur himself, considering that he was the one kept in the middle of the labyrinth. Then we've got who we got then? We got Gemini. Now the twins are actually the Dioscuri. They are Castor and Pollux, mythological heroes from the Trojan War story. They are also the brothers of Helen of Troy, the Spartan queen that was kidnapped by Paris, and Clytemnestra, who is the wife of Agamemnon, who led the Greek forces in the 10-year war against Troy, who ultimately ended up marrying his cousin and then killing him upon his return. So yeah, that entire family just happens to be like my favorite Greek myth. It's kind of funny because my mother's a Gemini, and then that's my favorite method. Yeah. We then got Cancer. Cancer is the crab Karkanos, who was actually sent by Hera to distract Hercules while he was fighting the Hydra. Hercules obviously ended up defeating the Hydra, but the way he got rid of Karkanos was when Karkanos went to nip him on the toe to distract him, Hercules just kicked him so hard that he flew up into the heavens and became the star sign. We've then got Leo, which is the Nemean lion, and it's interesting that those two are next to each other because they are both the first two labels of Hercules. The Nemean lion is the first, and then the Hydra is the second, where Karkanos appears. Then we get to Virgo. The debate there is that is it actually the virgin goddess Demeter, who I don't know how she would be a virgin goddess because she literally has a daughter. Her daughter is Persephone, the queen of the underworld. So the other theory is that Virgo is actually based on more or less it's a titan than anything else, but the titan's name is Astraea, and she is she sort of rules over like the stars and constellations and stuff, and is therefore used in like is worshipped by like oracles and stuff that read the stars, and obviously all the priestesses at Delphi were themselves virgins and took vows of chastity to sort of honor and give their lives to Astraea. We've then got Libra, who is actually the Titan Themis. If you've ever seen a statue of Lady Justice with the blindfold and the sword and the scales, that is for lack of a better comparison, Lady Justice. Lady Justice herself is actually a Roman construct that was derived from Themis herself, and so being the Titan of divine justice, they sort of went with the scales rather than the sword or the blindfold. Then we've got Scorpio. Scorpio is actually one of the star signs that I myself have been able to find on numerous occasions while stargazing, simply because of its relation to the star sign Orion. They both come from the same myth, so they both ended up in neighboring positions in the sky. So Scorpio is based on the monster Scorpius, who is basically just a giant scorpion sent by Artemis to kill Orion, who claimed that he was a better hunter than Artemis, who is the goddess of the hunt herself, so sort of injured her pride and therefore faced her wrath. But in his ability to kill Scorpius, though he did suffer a fatal wound, Artemis ended up allowing the hunter Orion to have his own star sign, like his own constellation as well. We've then got Sagittarius, who is based on Chiron. I was about to say Charon. Really only difference is one letter, but they're vastly different characters. Chiron is the centaur who trained Achilles in archery before he was sent off to the Trojan War. He trained other heroes as well. I believe in the Disney movie Hercules there is actually a reference to him, with there being a statue of a centaur or something holding a bow and arrow, because obviously Philoctetes takes his place in that story. Then we have got Capricorn. Now I believe the idea of the sea goat is actually derived from, and I'd have to, this one's the one that I'm the most unsure about, but there were two characters that helped bring to shore. So in the myth regarding Aphrodite's birth, she was either formed out of the sea foam itself, in sort of a reverse Little Mermaid from the original fairy tale, not from the Disney movie, or she was born out of a clam, sort of like a pearl, which is why pearls traditionally are seen as a romantic gesture, like buying someone a necklace of pearls. Anyway, in the case where she was born from a clam, there are two, they are referred to as ichthyocentaurs, which basically means that they have, from the waist up, they are men. From the waist down, they have the front legs of a horse and then the tail of a fish. Quite weird, but there were two of them. They're commonly associated with Pisces, considering that there are two of them, but the fact that Capricorn has the goat front and the fish tail could also be looking at these as well. Aquarius is Ganymede, very easy. Zeus sort of fell in love with this young man, and sort of brought him up to Olympus to be his cupbearer. And the only way he was able to do that without his family vowing revenge against the gods was to inform his family that he was actually going to be ascending to a position of great esteem. Basically became a deified mortal for being nothing other than attractive. And then obviously Pisces then comes in there with the Aphros and Bifos. Now, before I finish this video, I know I've sort of rambled on for a bit about the 12 signs and their history, their origins, personality traits, and all the rest. But before I actually finish this video, I do want to address, so there was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, the internet just sort of exploded with all these people suddenly discovering that there's a 13th zodiac sign. There have actually been certain people that have suggested having a 14 sign zodiac, considering that the cycle of like the sun and the moon and the stars itself is not perfectly circular, so dividing it into certain degrees means that one particular sign may end up actually having a longer because it's closer, and then the other ones are further away, or however the maths of that works out, means that the signs themselves aren't equal. And so obviously the extra two signs that go up either end to help sort of separate it out. So the 13th sign obviously is Ophiuchus. The 14th one that has been suggested would be Cetus, which is a sea monster. Now, it's not going to tell me where. Okay, it's not going to give me a link. It's cool. So Ophiuchus is basically a snake barrier. Here we are. There's Ophiuchus there. So it's a large constellation straddling the celestial equator. Its name comes from Greek Ophiuchus, who is the serpent bearer that is commonly represented as a man grasping a snake. The serpent is represented by the constellation Serpens, and it's one of the 48 constellations listed by 2nd century astronomer Ptolemy, and remains one of the 88 modern constellations. And it was formerly referred to as Serpentarius before being named now. Let's see if we can find it. So to the ancient Greeks, the constellation represented the god Apollo, struggling with a huge snake that guarded the oracle of Delphi, which was actually a monster by the name of Python, which is where we got the name for the snake. In the zodiac, okay, so Ophiuchus is one of the 13 constellations that cross the ecliptic. It has therefore been called the 13th sign of the zodiac. However, this confuses star signs with constellations, as it would no longer mean that your star sign is the star sign you were literally born under, but would more or less become sort of a fixed period of time within the year, meaning that you'd actually divide the year up into 13 equal parts, which can almost be done, considering that this can almost be done. I can't remember. I did at one point figure it out to be, I think it was like 28 days or something. Anyway, things I do when I'm bored. The signs of the zodiac are a 12-fold division of the ecliptic, so that each sign spans 30 degrees of celestial longitude, approximately the distance the sun travels in a month, and in the Western tradition are aligned with the seasons, so that the March equinox falls on the boundary between Pisces and Aries. That is also how you figure out equatorial zodiac. They actually just rely on when the equinoxes and the solstices are, sort of just subdivide the time in between. Constellations, on the other hand, are unequal in size and are based on the position of the stars. The constellations of the zodiac have only a loose associations with the signs of the zodiac and do not in general coincide with them. In Western astrology, the constellation of Aquarius, for example, largely corresponds to the sign of Pisces. Similarly, the constellation of Ophiuchus occupies most of, usually between November 29 and December 18, of the sign Sagittarius, who is usually between November 23 and December 21. So most of Sagittarius becomes Ophiuchus and sort of pushes everything else aside to fit itself in. The differences are due to the fact that the time of year the sun passes through a particular zodiac's constellation position has slowly changed because of the precession of equinoxes over the centuries, from when the Greeks, Babylonians, and Dacians originally developed the zodiac. And I believe, due to the fact that we have leap years and stuff, eventually, as those times start moving too far back, they sort of put a ficus in every there is an actual number of years that they put in. I'm trying to find that for you guys now. Yeah, it's not going to tell me what I want it to tell me. But yeah, due to the fact that as time moves on and the precession of the equinoxes slowly moves ever so slightly, every so often they put a ficus in to help sort of fix it up, in the same way that every 4 years we tack an extra day on to reposition ourselves in regards to the sun. However, I kind of see that as a temporary fix, not a permanent one, because you keep adding in days to try and be like, well, that mathematically works out, but you are still sort of slowly putting us off. For instance, it's what, like mid-August now, and it's only just started to feel like winter. Spring is literally supposed to be next month, so you know, sort of what defines actually being in a season or whatever. But that is a topic of discussion for another day. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscription button and the notification bell if you haven't already. I upload every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and I've got a whole heap of really cool stuff coming over the rest of this month and next month. I am deep diving into all of the announcements made at Hall H from Comic Con about Phase 4 in Marvel, which, in case you couldn't tell, is something that I love. As well as every month I share a storytime video, I do one of these introduction pack videos, I do bad film reviews, I cover songs, I do all sorts of really fun stuff. I've got a whole heap of unboxing videos coming up as well, which is really exciting. Haven't unboxed anything in a while. I'm going to have to find my my boxing knife so we can get into that. And yeah, so Wednesday's video should be Shang-Chi. I deep dive into Shang-Chi. So if that interests you, make sure you hit those buttons so you can be there when that gets uploaded. As well as Fridays will be a bad film review. And I've specifically selected it because I remembered something that I didn't add to my Black Widow deep dive that I want to sort of bring up, and this particular bad film helps that slide in very seamlessly. So yeah, this next week's going to be very fun. So yeah, hope to see you guys then. And with that all out of the way, night to A2, and I'll check you all later.